It is so good to see every one of you. I am really excited about today's project, guys. This is going to be a fun one. We're going to be creating a wire butterfly today. And I know that this class is marked as intermediate. However, I don't want that to intimidate anybody. For those of you who are have some beginner wire skills, I think that you're going to find that hopefully I'll be able to break this down in a way that even you will be able to follow along with this one. There's a very short amount of wire weaving that is part of this project, and it is one of the easiest weaves that there is to learn, and I'm hoping that that's going to inspire you to want to learn more. So even the beginners out there, guys, hang in for this one, because there are some other things that you can do in lieu of the weave if you want to. And I'm going to talk about that as we go through this, because I want everybody to get something from this project. So I'm going to get you guys turned around and we're going to talk about materials, and then we're going to get right into the project. All right. So many familiar faces. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me this afternoon. All right, let me show you a couple of little samples. Now, these are not finished. These are just some little samples. They don't have the dangles on them yet, but I wanted to show you what we are going to be creating. We're creating a little butterfly out of some 18 gauge German style wire. We're going to be doing a very small section of wire weave here in the middle to create like the body part of your butterfly, and then just some little wire wrapping to wrap the wings together, just to kind of hold the entire thing in place. Now, like I mentioned, we're doing a little bit of wire weaving here. We're only doing about 3/4 of an inch of the actual weave, and it is a very easy weave. I'm going to go really slow with it. So hopefully, if you've never done a wire weave before, you will try this one and not be too intimidated by it, because I think that once you get the hang of it, you're going to see that it is a lot of fun. So what I'm hoping is that you get really comfortable with the wire weave, and then you get comfortable with shaping the wire. This is not a hard project, but everybody's butterflies are going to look different, and that's okay. So if you come back and watch this later as a replay, to kind of work along with it. If your butterfly looks a little bit different than mine, that's okay. You can see these two butterflies look very different, but I've used the exact same amount of materials here. So this one's even just a little bit smaller, and that's just where I've trimmed some of the wire, but I started out exactly the same with either one of these. So you can get really, really creative with this if you want to. It is totally up to you. Like I said, everybody's butterflies are going to look different. So again, 18 gauge wire for the body. We're going to be using two pieces that are about 4 inches long, and then we are going to be using some 26 gauge wire for the wire weaving, and we need about, let's see, about 18 inches. I'm sorry, not 18 inches. I'm trying to look at my notes here, because I usually 16 inches. I was close. I was close. 16, 18. It's good. It's good. You just need a little bit of wire for the weaving. It doesn't take a whole lot. And then you can use your scraps, but we are going to need a few pieces of like 3 to 4 inch 26 gauge wire. So don't put it away when you're done with the weaving. All right, we're going to get started, and that's where we're going to start, is right with that weave. So we've got our two pieces of 18 gauge wire that are 4 inches long each, and then our 26 gauge wire. So we are going to take that 26 gauge wire. We're going to take one of these pieces of the 18 gauge wire. We're going to come to the middle of that wire, as close to the middle as possible. It doesn't have to be exact. Okay. And we are going to anchor this 26 gauge wire to that with about 3 wire wraps. Okay. And you'll notice I'm going in a clockwise motion. This entire weave happens in a clockwise motion. So that's what makes this one very, very easy. It's easy to follow along with, and it's easy to do. Okay, so once I've anchored that wire onto my thicker gauge wire, I'm going to bring in the second wire. And I'm just going to kind of bring it in right next to the other wire with a little bit of space in between there. Okay. And you don't have to worry about the space too much, because where the wire wraps exist on the bottom wire, that's going to help to space out the two wires perfectly. So you don't really have to worry about that. Okay. All right. So with the wire running over the top of the second wire that we just brought in, you are going to wrap around that top wire and only around that top wire. So that means that you're going to take your 26 gauge wire out here to the side and bring it in just like so. Okay, so for me, a lot of the weaving happens out here to the edge. Instead of like trying to poke the tail end of my wire between these two wires, I do it out here to the edge and then slide it in. So that's what you're going to see. Okay, so we're going to go up over that top wire, okay, down the back of both wires, and then up and wrap around just the bottom wire. Okay. Now you're going to go up both wires and wrap only around the top wire. And continue up and over, going down the back, and then only around the bottom wire. So basically what you're doing is you're wrapping around just the top and just the bottom, just the top and just the bottom. But because you have to wrap up the front or down the back of both, it gives that kind of long stretch of wire between the two. Okay, so I'm on the bottom, going up the front, wrapping just around the top wire, down the back, and only wrapping around the bottom wire. Up the front, wrapping only around the top, down the back, only around the bottom. Okay, and then every once in a while, I'll stop and squish the wires together. You can do that with your fingernails, you can do it with your tools, whatever works for you. But the tighter this stays, the better it looks. As you're going, it may be kind of loose. That's why I say just stop every once in a while and kind of push everything together so that it all lines up and is nice and tidy. Okay, so you're just going to continue with this pattern. You're going up the front of both wires, wrapping around the top wire, going up and over so you can come down the back of both wires, and then up, wrapping only around the bottom wire. Up the front, around the top, down the back, around the bottom. Okay, up the front, around the top, down the back, around the bottom. And that's your pattern, and that's all. There's nothing else to that, but it makes a nice tight little weave that looks really nice and clean, and it keeps your wires evenly spaced, so you don't have to worry about holding things a certain way to make sure that there is space there. The wire is going to do all of that for you. Okay, so let's do some more. We're going up the front of both wires, only wrapping around the top wire. So I'm bringing my wire out here and then pulling it in around that, down the back of both wires, and then up over here to the side between the two to wrap just around the bottom wire. Up the front, around just the top. Whoops. Down the back, up the front, around just the bottom. Okay, and we're going to check in with our ruler because we only need about 3/4 of an inch of this. So we are almost right at 1/2 inch. So we just got a little bit more to go. So you can see this is a great beginner weave project because you don't have to do very much of it, right? You just do a little bit of it. And then if you love the way that it works out, or you need to practice it, you don't waste a whole lot of wire, but you can make really long pieces of this and do all kinds of other projects with it. So hopefully this is like a wire weaving gateway. I'm hoping that this will inspire some of you to try out some other wire weaves, because really when you break them down step by step, they're not nearly as intimidating as they appear to be. So I'm wrapping around the top, down the back, up, so that I can go just around the bottom. And my wire is getting a little short here, which is fine. I'm just going to use it up. And if you need to use your pliers to hold on to the wire, that helps too when your wire starts to get a little short. So up the front, around the top, down the back, up the front, around the bottom. And yeah, I'm going to use my pliers here just to grab that. Okay. up the front, around just the top wire, down the back. You're going to come up the front, around just the bottom wire. And I'm just using my pliers because my fingers are a little big to get in there, right? It's just easier with that shorter wire around the up the front and around the top. Okay, then down the back, up the front, just around the bottom. So once you use up all of your wire, you should have about 3/4 of an inch, maybe a little less, and that's okay. Because this is just the center of your butterfly. So you don't need tons of this, right? So taking a look, might be a little short. Nope, we're right at 3/4 of an inch. So now I'm going to take my cutter tool and I'm going to trim off the tail of this wire. And then where I started, my original tail down here, I'm also going to undo it a little bit. I'm just going to unwind it maybe once or twice and then trim, just so that it's a little cleaner on the ends. Okay. Now, one of the things that you may notice, and with mine, I can tell right away that I wasn't quite centered when I was doing my weaving. You can very gently take your pliers and kind of pull each wire to try to center up that weave as much as possible, okay? And it doesn't have to be perfectly centered. You just want it to be kind of close. For me, I like for my butterflies top wings to be a little bit bigger than the bottom wings. So if one set of the wires is a little bit longer than the others, like you can see these are a little bit longer than these, that's okay. I'm totally fine with that, okay? Because these are going to make smaller wings. Okay, so now that you have trimmed all of that off, you're going to separate out the wires on either side, just kind of like making TV antennas out of them. You're just going to separate those out to make two little V's on either side. Okay. All right. Now we are going to start forming these into the spirals. And they are not tight spirals. Okay. So we're going to start with the long top wing with this longer piece of wire. I like to use my round nose pliers for this, but you can use your chain nose pliers if you want to. It really doesn't make much of a difference, but I'm going to grab the tip of one of those wires, okay? And then I'm going to start to kind of curve the wire around. And you'll notice that a lot of times I kind of shift the way that I'm holding it in my hands, like I may turn it over, I may twist it around, whatever is more comfortable, but I'm really just kind of doing an open spiral and trying to make it as rounded as possible. And if I don't like it, I can kind of just very gently open it back up and then curve it back down again. Okay. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the other side, but I want it to match as much as possible. So I'm going to grab the tip of the wire and then just kind of curving it inwards. And then again, just kind of readjusting how I have it in my hands. Kind of using my index finger on my left hand to press and guide a little bit so you can see. All right, and then I want to kind of twist the ends in a little bit more, a little more curve. Do the same thing on the other side. It helps to put your hand behind it or your finger behind it to work up against. You're kind of pushing up against it so that you're not just pushing it through. You want to have a little bit of a resistance there to really kind of help make this a little easier on your tools there. All right, so those look pretty good. They're not exactly the same, but they're pretty close. And I can always kind of work on them a little bit more. That looks pretty good. Now I'm going to flip this over and we're going to do the same thing to the others. Now, the others, the wire is a little bit shorter and I want the wing to be a little bit smaller. So I'm going to kind of twist this spiral in a little bit tighter. So same thing, I'm going to start right at the tip and then I'm going to start curving the wire around. And I'm trying to go slow. The slow movements are easier to correct than the big movements. So if I don't like what I'm doing, I can fix it. Much easier than trying to unwind a whole quick bend in the wire. So we're getting somewhere. It's not quite there yet, but we're getting close. So now what we want to do is we want to start to kind of bring these two together. So as I am twisting in, I'm also kind of rolling upward. Well, it looks like it's downwards because of the way that I'm doing it, but I'm rolling towards this other wing. And then I'm also going to kind of bring that wing in a little bit closer. So I'm basically just kind of rolling them closer together. And there's going to be just a tiny little bit of space in between there. That's okay. That's okay. We're going to take care of that in just a second. This one has kind of a flat spot in it, so I can gently try to unroll and then try to curve it. And if it does just naturally have that, you can see how this one's nice and curved. This one kind of has a little bit of a flat spot in it. It will drive me crazy, so I will try to fix it, but it's really not that noticeable. And then again, just want to kind of bring this one down a little as well. So you're just kind of twisting them to each other, right? And then you can gently squeeze to kind of close up that space. Now we are going to wire wrap the wings to each other, but that looks pretty good. This one with that little funny spot in it, I'm not going to worry about it too much because that's actually going to be, I think that's going to be where I hang my dangles from. So I'm not super worried about it. When I hang the dangles there, you won't notice that spot nearly as much. And honestly, it's not that noticeable as it is. Okay, so I mentioned that for those of you who don't want to do the wire weaving, or if it just is just a little too much for you at this point, you're still very much a beginner and you're not ready to take the step into the weave, you can take a really long piece of the 26 gauge wire that we did here, another 18 inches of that wire, and you can just wrap these together, right? You don't have to do the weave. You can just literally just wrap around both wires. The problem with that is that the weave kind of keeps the two wires in their own lane, right? It keeps them from like rubbing up against each other and one trying to push to the front and the other one kind of making its way to the back. The weave keeps them evenly spaced and both in their spots. You can do this, like I said, just wrapping around both of them, but you will kind of have to fight that a little bit. But the trick to fighting that is going to be by putting this on the block and work hardening it just a little bit. And we're going to do that now, even though we've done the weave, just so that I can really get some insurance to make sure that I'm keeping that shape of my wings before I wire wrap those together. So I'm going to put this on the block and I'm going to use my nylon hammer here and I'm going to work harden both sides. And then if you've weaved or if you've just wrapped in the middle, gently tap. For those of you who are just wrapping instead of doing the weave, that's really going to kind of help to force those two wires to stay in their lane. Okay. Yeah, if you were using copper wire, you can work harden it as well. I try to work harden any wire. It doesn't matter if it is, copper wire or if it's a copper core wire. How long do you hammer it? You're only going to hammer it until it's noticeably stiffer than it was, right? You absolutely could use the same technique to make earrings, 100%. You could even turn this into a pin if you wanted to. There's lots of things you could do. And I do notice that I've got a little spot in my weave where my wires overlapped. Just going to kind of gently, my pliers, just gently push that wire down. Again, you don't really notice it that much. I definitely don't notice it on this side. So I'm going to make this the front. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to take another couple of pieces of the 26 gauge wire. So you're going to need like 3 additional pieces that are only about 3 or 4 inches long each. We're going to make a little connector, and we're also going to wire wrap these wings together. So I'm going to place my wire in to one side of the wings over here underneath the curve of the smaller wing. And I'm just going to use maybe 3 wire wraps to wrap these together. This is just going to help maintain that butterfly shape, because even though we've work hardened this piece, the pieces are not connected, so they could get hung on something and could pull apart. So wire wrapping them together like this is going to make sure that it does not do that, and it's going to maintain that structure that we've created. Okay, so just 3 or 4 wire wraps. I don't want to do a big section of wraps here because I don't want it to take away from the overall look of the piece, but I do want to ensure the stability there. And then you can tidy that up with your pliers. Come back here to the back and trim. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing over here with another piece of wire. And if you'll notice, I turn the piece over and I'm kind of, I always tend to either work all on the left or all on the right. Today I'm working all on the right, but you do whatever is more comfortable for you. You don't have to do things exactly the way that I'm doing them. Okay. I think I missed a question there. If you guys will ask it again, I'm not sure. Somebody was wondering, and I only saw like half of the question go by. Y'all want to ask it again? I try to catch all the questions, but I do miss some, I know. Do you round off the edges of your wires first? That's a really good question. So I don't round them off so much, but I do rely on my flush cutters. So the flush cutter ensures that I have a nice flush cut on the wire so that I don't have to, I'll cut an extra piece here to show you. So I don't have to worry so much about rounding them off. So this is a wire that's cut without the flush. You can see that pointy edge. But if I use my flush cutter, you can see the difference, right? So now I don't have to round it off. I know that it is nice and flat. All right, and then I think there was a question about the wings as to whether you could curve the wings beforehand. You definitely can if you want to. I do find that it's easier to do the weave if you curve the wings after you have woven the 2 pieces together. But if it's easier for you to do it the other way, absolutely, go for it. There's no reason why you can't. Okay, so now we have the two wings that have been wire wrapped together. Now we're going to create our little hook here. This is going to be where you can put a jump ring and hang this. I personally like to hang it or put my little loop on it so that it hangs sideways. And then my dangles are going to hang down here on the bottom and it just kind of looks like it's flying. If you don't want to do this on the outer edge of the wing, you can do it here in the middle so that it hangs straight up and down. But just know that if you do that, you're going to have to do one on the bottom too to hang your dangles from. So you do kind of have to take some different steps to get it centered if you want it centered. All right, so I'm going to take one more piece of the 26 gauge wire. Again, you just need a little bit of this, you know, another 3 inches at the absolute most. Okay, and then I'm going to anchor this over here on the left wing with about 3 wire wraps. Okay, now I'm going to use my round nose pliers. Grab with my round nose pliers, and you just want to grab, it depends on how big you want your loop to be. If you want a larger loop, you're going to grab with you know, you're going to wrap around the larger part of the tool. If you want just like a mid-sized loop down here towards the bottom, so I'm just going to guide the wire up and over the pliers and then around the wing. All right, so I'm just kind of interrupting that wire wrap with a wrap around the pliers, but I'm still just continuing the wire wrap. And I'm going to wire wrap another 3 times over here on this side. And I'm wrapping it nice and tight so that it's not going to move around on me. Okay, taking it off of the tool, and you've got yourself a little loop here. And then again, you want to trim off ends. Tidy this one up a little bit. This is where we anchored our wire. Okay. All right. And that is ready to go. We've got a little connector here. Okay, now let's work on the dangle part. This is the part that I absolutely love. I am all about sparkle. You can never have too much sparkle in my opinion. So I am using a ton of these beautiful blue crystal bicones, and I am wire wrapping all of those. Now we're going to just do 2 of these together. But overall, I'll tell you how many. You're going to need some 4mm jump rings. I'm going to set those over here to the side. So obviously, the bigger the cluster you want, the more beads you're going to need. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So I'm using 17 of these 4mm crystal bicones, and I'm going to be putting those onto head pins. And I liked the ball head pin, but you could use just a regular head pin, be totally fine. Okay. But we're going to do wrapped loops on these. We're going to do 2 of them together, and then I'm going to show you how to build the cluster. So we're going to take each one and we're going to drop those down onto a head pin. And then I'm going to come in with my chain nose pliers, grabbing the wire right where it is exiting the bead, and I'm going to bend the wire over the top of the pliers. This gives me room for the wire wraps. I don't have to measure in advance. The tool does all of that work for me. So now I'm going to come in with my round nose pliers. I'm going to grab that wire, and I'm going to go up and over the top barrel of the pliers. Then I'm going to rotate the pliers in my hand and take the wire over to the other side. I like to switch hands, and then I'm going to wire wrap in that space between the loop and the top of the bead. And sometimes I can get 4 wire wraps. Most of the time it's just 3. I try not to push it when it comes to bicones, just because the tip of the bead is a little, you know, sometimes you can crack it if you're being too forceful. So just be gentle when you're doing your wire wraps. Don't force more than you need to. And then you're going to come in with your cutter tool to trim off the excess. Also be careful with your cutter tool because you can accidentally chip the top of that bicone as well with your cutters. So you just want to be gentle. Okay, so there's one. And I'm going to do one more. Okay. Chain nose pliers, bending the wire, coming in with the round nose pliers, and again, up and over, rotate, take the wire over to the other side, and then wire wrap. Okay, and then I'm going to come in with my cutter, trim off the excess. All right, so now you're going to do that with all of your bicones, as many as you want to create your cluster with. Then you're going to need your 4mm jump rings to start to create this. Now, this is going to be a lot of repetition. It's a lot of picking up and putting down and picking up and putting down, but it is so worth it because a cluster is absolutely beautiful. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to pick up a jump ring, and we are going to open that jump ring with a twist. And we're going to throw it on one bicone, and then we're going to close that back. The single bicone on the bottom. Okay, so we're starting at the bottom and working our way upwards. So I'm going to sit that down. I'm going to pick up another jump ring and open that. I'm going to hook the jump ring I just closed, and then I'm going to put a bead on either side. So I'm going to put a bead on this side, and then I'm going to switch hands, and I'm going to put a bead on the other side, making sure that there's one on each side so that it is nice and balanced. And I'm going to close that back. Okay, and then we're just going to repeat this over and over again, but I like to lay it down and then pick it up again, and try not to lose the jump ring, because the fuller this gets with beads, the easier it is to kind of lose your top jump ring. So taking that next jump ring and hooking it onto the previous, and then again a bead on either side. So you have to switch hands to get one on either side, close that back, lay that down, pick up another jump ring, twist, pick up the previous jump ring. Sometimes that's tricky and I have to actually pick it up with my hand, but I want to be sure that it's even, that there's a bead on either side, right? Because that is all going to make a difference. You want this to be nice and balanced. Okay, close this back, lay that down, another jump ring. And if you wanted to make this really, really full, you could add more than one bead to your jump rings. You can also kind of build the density of this up as well. So you could start out with one bead on either jump ring, and then as you go upwards, start adding more beads to each jump ring. So each time you add a bead, add 2 beads. And then as you work your way up a little bit more, add 3 beads. And that's going to make it really full at the top. And then as it gets lower, right, the longer it gets, the thinner the dangle and the bundle is going to be. So you really got a lot of ways that you can alter the look of this, but I'm just going to keep mine just like it is, with one bead on each side of the jump ring as I move upwards. But I love clusters like this because you can really get creative with them. And of course, for me, the fuller they are, the better, because I love sparkle. But you can see how nice and balanced all of it is. And that is because there's one bead on either side. So that's why it's important to pick up that jump ring, making sure that there's a bead on either side. You don't accidentally pick it up with 2 beads on the same side. So we're almost done here. Just got a few more beads to go. I'm picking up again. All right, we're at our last set of beads here in just a second. As soon as I close this jump ring, we will be at the last 2 beads. So sit that very gently. See how I have that jump ring sitting up so I can grab it really easily. All right, last jump ring. I'm going to put a bead on either side. And then before I close this, I'm going to attach it to the bottom wing opposite of my little loop. So my loop is on this side. I'm going to hang my bundle or my cluster on the other side. Close that back. So you can see it's going to hang at an angle. Looks like it's flying. A little sparkle behind it. And then you are done. At this point, you can attach a jump ring and you can put this on whatever stringing material you want to. I'm just going to use a little bit of chain here, but you could put this on a ribbon. You could build an entire necklace around this. You could put it on leather. Totally up to you. You could turn it into earrings if you had 2 of them. You could put a pin back on it. Since you've got a nice flat surface here, you could either wire wrap the pin to it, or you could glue it to it, and then you could just pin this on, which I think would be really pretty. But a nice little summer necklace. And you can change up the colors here. I went with blue just because of the month of April and the birthstone for April. However, you could do like multicolors. You could have like a rainbow effect coming off of the edge, your favorite color crystal. You could do crystal rounds instead of the bicones if you wanted to. Totally up to you. And again, the wings, you can really get creative with these if you want to. You don't have to just stick to the circles. You could come in with your chain nose pliers and you could pull points up at the tips if you wanted to. You can get really, really creative with this. Now, if you want to do extra swirls or tight swirls, you're probably going to need a longer piece of wire or 2 longer pieces instead of the 4 inches. You probably want to go with maybe, 6 inches of wire, just so that you've got some extra wire to play around with. But all right, guys, I'm going to turn you around and I'm going to hang this on the bust so you can see what it looks like hanging. And then we will say our goodbyes. I appreciate you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I really enjoy this project, so I hope that you do too. I love spring and summertime jewelry, and I absolutely love butterflies. So I thought this was a really cool project. All right, now my piece of chain, guys, is a little short, so you'll have to forgive that, but you can see how that's going to hang. Super, super cute. You could use different colored wire. You could mix your metals if you wanted to. Since we used artistic wire for the 26 gauge in the middle, you could use any color that you can get that artistic wire in. You could actually use artistic wire for the outside frame of your butterfly and use a color too. I just like the German style just because it has that structure to it. But if you work hard in it, you can literally use anything. But you could also wire wrap beads to the outside edges of your wings if you wanted to. There's so many different things that you can do with this. Hopefully this is, like I said, just a jumping off point for you so that you can be inspired and get really creative with your wire and your butterflies and your crystal clusters, because those are so much fun. All right, everybody. Thank you so, so much. I appreciate you hanging out with me and letting me be a part of your beadie journey. Have a wonderful rest of your afternoon. And don't forget, you can come back and watch this as a replay tomorrow over on the Michael's YouTube channel, guys. And I will see you again very soon with another fun class. Bye, guys.